This is the ultimate camera shootout of the older Pixel 7 versus the newer Pixel 8. Is it time to upgrade? Let's find out. Let's start with color profile and saturation. In terms of image quality, both phones will produce great photos like a typical Google Pixel phone. They are separated by a generation, of course, because Pixel 7 was last generation, but in terms of image quality, Pixel 7 is aging really well. Today we're shooting in multiple locations. You would see that there's an outdoor shot, which is most likely to be a snowy environment, but the sky is visible. We also have an indoor shot. You will see this on the sport complex, the mall, and some home shots. The colors are almost the same for both phones. I even conducted a survey on my community tab, and a lot of the responses I received, a lot of people think that the shots are almost the same. And for my own personal consumption, I even conducted a blind test to myself, and half of the answer I have were incorrect. I can find a consistent difference in terms of colors and image quality in general. But my takeaway is, in some shots, Pixel 8 is a little bit warmer than Pixel 7, and the colors are a little bit saturated and brighter, like the colors red, yellow, and purple. Other than that, I think in a well-lit environment, they would produce similar photos because of Google's computational photography. Looking on papers, both of these phones have similar camera hardware, but there's a little bit of difference or an upgrade on Pixel 8. The older Pixel 7 has 50 megapixel main sensor with f1.9 aperture, face detection, autofocus, and OIS, and the regular 12 megapixel ultra-wide with 114 degrees field of view. The rear camera can shoot 4K 30 and 60 FPS. And the selfie has 10.8 megapixel ultra-wide that can also shoot the same 4K 60 FPS at max. Well, the upgrade on Pixel 8 is the aperture on the main sensor. Although it's the same in terms of resolution and autofocus, it has a brighter f1.7 aperture. The 12 megapixel ultra-wide is advertised to have autofocus, and the rear camera can shoot up to 4K 30 and 60 FPS, as well as the cinematic 24 FPS. The resolution on selfie went down to 10.5 megapixel, but like the older Pixel 7, it can also shoot 4K 60 FPS at max. Going back to the discussion of colors, I think you would love any of these two phones, to be honest. The colors are pretty consistent and closer in real life as opposed to Samsung and Apple, that more saturated look. There are slight differences in different categories, but in terms of colors, both will look the same. And looking at all sensors from the ultra-wide and even the 2x digital crop, colors and image are consistent. The 8x optical zoom of Pixel 8 is superior than Pixel 7 in terms of noise reduction and clarity. This is last generation's Google Pixel 7 in 4K 60 FPS. It has Tensor Chip Gen 2 and arguably one of the best phones you can buy today. Let's talk about portrait mode, and there are subtle differences between the two phones, but in general, if you see any of the images without any description, you would think they're coming from the same phone. Google Pixel's strengths and weaknesses are very evident on this comparison test. What I like about Pixel phones in general are facial details and blur. Feels like coming from a really expensive camera phone. They have the common weakness of subject separation again. With my personal sentiments, I feel like Google should do a better job on this since they're now marketing Pixel phones to be competitors of Samsung and Apple. The differences between the two phones most evidently is the contrast. The images coming from Pixel 8 has more depth into the blacks, the hairs, the eyes, and the shirt. Also, the subject separation or cutout is a little bit better on the new Pixel 8. It has the same problem as last generations, but it's not as bad as Pixel 7. And if you shoot the portrait mode with a source of light at the back, both will illuminate the face, but Pixel 8 smoothens the face better, while Pixel 7 has artifacts on it. But overall, if you're not pixel peeping on the images and you will just post this on social media, no one will know that you're using a Pixel phone. And looking at the selfie camera, Pixel 8 is a little bit brighter than Pixel 7, but both looks fairly the same. The night shot feature is also an upgrade on Pixel 8, although again, generally both images will look the same. If you're posting this on social media and you don't know what the phone is, without inspecting the exposure, white balance, and even the flaring, you would think both shots are coming from the same phone. But there's actually 3 major upgrades on Pixel 8 on 3 different categories. The first one is the white balance, and I'm not sure if it is an upgrade or just what Google has envisioned their phones moving forward. The white balance is a little bit warmer on Pixel 8, I should say more inviting on a night shot. I see similar photos on Samsung and Apple, and I'm not surprised that Google will also do this. The next upgrade is the flaring on night shots. Pixel 8 is doing a really good job of eliminating that pinkish flare on the strong light source. And the third upgrade is in the exposure category. If you look on the trees on some of the images, you would see that there's more details and information on Google Pixel 8. Again, not a whole lot of difference in terms of night shots, but if you're looking to upgrade your night shot photos, Pixel 8 is in the right direction. And this is Google Pixel 8 4K 60 FPS. And amongst the 2023 model or 2023 smartphone, I think this is the best phone price to performance ratio. Let's talk about flaring, and one of the upgrades on the new Pixel 8 is it manages the flaring better. It removes the purple and pinkish flare on the images from the sun and strong light source on night shots. In terms of highlights, both of them will default to shoot HDR photos, and the computational photography of Google is doing a really good job on both phones. I think this is a tie for me. Another upgrade of Pixel 8 is the macro capability. This phone supports macro mode using the ultrawide sensor, while there's none on Pixel 7. And if we talk about exposure, I mean, both phones exposes the images better because of the HDR shot, but one of the characteristics of Google Pixel 8 is stronger contrast that makes the shadows a little bit darker on some situation. That's why Pixel 7 will expose the darker areas better. In terms of sharpness from the ultra-wide, wide, and even the 2x digital crop, both of them are really good, but if you zoom in on the 8x digital crop, both phones are equally impressive. And lastly, on the image test is the details. They have the same 50 megapixel sensor that outputs 12 megapixel JPEG. And in terms of hardware and software manipulation, I think both of them will do well. They have the identical details on the 12 megapixel stills. So this is the image test of Pixel 7 versus Pixel 8, just a difference in contrast and flaring. Now let's check the video test from the stabilization, slow-mo, and low light. Let's start the video test with the video zoom test, and both has the same reach, but Google Pixel 8 has better contrast. This is the slow motion test, both has the same speed and video quality, but I just thought Pixel 8 has better contrast and clarity compared to Pixel 7. And this is the super slow motion test 1/8, and like the super slow motion test, almost the same quality, but better contrast and clarity on Pixel 8. This is the video stabilization test in 4K 30 FPS using the ultra-wide lens, and I left the colors and contrast, and I believe the stabilization is almost the same on both phones. I think they're using the same sensor, just a bit wider on Pixel 8. This is the main sensor of Pixel 7 in 4K 30 FPS video recording a basketball game. And this is the new Pixel 8, just a difference in white balance, but the video quality is almost the same. Now we're testing the selfie camera, and we set this to the highest resolution and frame rate, 4K 60 FPS. I don't notice any difference in stabilization and video quality. I think it's almost the same for both phones. And lastly, low light video, and we're using the main sensor 4K 30 FPS. And noticeably, Pixel 8 is noisier than the older Pixel 7, but has better contrast. So my question today is, would you rather go for a more exposed video or punchier night shots? So this is the ultimate camera showdown of Google Pixel 7 versus Google Pixel 8. I think in terms of camera performance, the older Pixel 7 is still a really good option if you want to own a really good camera phone, or if you already have this phone, I don't think there's a need for you to upgrade, but that's just my opinion. But if you're in dying need of the macro feature, better in flaring, a little bit better in portrait mode, and better contrast and colors and video, then Pixel 8 is a perfect upgrade. Again, at the end of the day, the choice is yours to make, but I feel like Pixel 8 might be the phone of the year in terms of value, while Pixel 7 is a heck of a deal if you can get it cheaper. And there we go, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll continue to compare these two phones in our channel, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.